This is JR's Adventures Life and Times. We continue now with lunch date to the rundown. That's what this episode's called. Jamie will do the reading. Okay. July 24th. 8 a.m. JR and Kim go to a donut shop to get donuts. They take them back to the hotel and eat them together. After breakfast, JR and Kim decide to play a game of contract running. By 9:10 a.m., Kim won the game of contract running handling. Man, I swear, you set up the deck so you can win, Gerald says. Really, Andy, right now? Sorry about that. Jimmy had kind of a crazy phone call. So we'll start back in at 9:10 a.m. Ken won the game of contract running handling. Man, I swear, you set up the deck so you can win, Gerald says. Man, I don't cheat, Ken said. You've known me for nearly 6 years now, JR. Man, relax. I'm just teasing you, JR says. Anyway, Heather said she wants to take me to lunch today. Beats Olivia Raymond's. Man, that girl broke your heart. JR began to bristle. Man, it goes both ways. 11:20 a.m. JR is relaxing in his hotel room when his cell phone rings. JR, I'm outside waiting to take you to a poolside lunch with a professor of mine. His name is David Morgenthau. Served in the Bush administration. Get downstairs quick. JR runs out downstairs where a yellow Hummer is parked outside. Come on, come on, come on. Come on, JR, Heather shouts. So why are we doing this, JR said. I heard about what the idiot Rand said about your father is wanting you to do. Dr. Morgenthau knows a rich judge, Frederick Harkin. He'll pick you up at the hotel after I drop you off from lunch. 11:35 a.m. At a condo in New Orleans, poolside, people are swimming. Some people are having lunch at different tables when a purple car pulls up. It's a purple Lincoln convertible. Purple car! Professor Morgenthau! J.R. Hendrick. Heard so much about your dad's oil empire. May I offer you a drink? My most honored guest, Morgenthau said. Dr. Pepper. Unlike Heather, I seldom drink, Gerald said. Touché! I'm a Baptist. I'm only drinking when I party with her. Sir, that's heavy. You told me that you knew about a Judge Frederick Harkin. You told me you knew about a judge named Frederick Harkin? Heather asked. Of course, the professor said as they dined of fettuccine alfredo. There's a connection between me, Judge Harkin, and Jim Hendrick. JR, Your dad and I made the contact to shut your prep school friend Rand up. Rand was always such a loudmouth, Heather said. By 12:35 p.m., Heather gives JR a peck on the cheek when they arrive at his hotel. Thanks, JR. Goodbye, Heather said. How you looked me up when you decided to come back to Texas, JR says. Just then, Harkin's chauffeur pulls up with a red stretch limousine and yells out the door, Sir, step into the back. The judge is there to see you. I hope, like me, you don't drink, Judge Harkin said. No, sir, I don't, Gerald said. The judge gets out the glass and pours him and JR some ginger ale. And then the interview began. By 1 p.m., JR arrived back at the hotel and called his mother. She's staying at the Virginia Beach Hilton. She told him that JR's daddy was flying to Louisiana today to take care of business with Claude. But the business would be in Baton Rouge, not New Orleans. Then, on the 25th, they would fly to El Paso, and then on to Belleville, New Mexico, to look at rigs before flying home to Midland, where Claude would stay with his daddy and Christine at the ranch. 3:10 p.m. JR and Ken are swimming in the hotel swimming pool with the song Crazy by Seal piped in the background. By 6:20 p.m., JR and Ken have a steak dinner at Chop House, New Orleans. As usual, Ken cuts JR's steak for him. Let's raise our glasses to the man with a plan, JR says. We got one more full day in New Orleans tomorrow. But I have Sunday morning church with Olivia, and I feel like it's the last time. Great, fine, Ken said. Man, I told you, if you don't ask out Karen Crowder, I would. Lay off, Gerald said. On Sunday, July 25th, Olivia had taken Gerald to church, and on the way back home, she started a serious conversation. I'm not going to be able to meet you in Charleston. Daddy wants to fly back to Midland tomorrow morning, Olivia said. Damn it, it's bad, Gerald says. I'm sorry. He wants me ready for Baylor a month before I go there. Buying clothes, buying me tomorrow, buying me a car, all that stuff. Well, I guess this is goodbye. Doesn't have to be goodbye. Come see me in Waco one weekend. JR cut her off and got out of the car. No, we just live with the memories that we have here. 12:30 p.m. JR and Ken had a cheeseburger lunch, and now Ken has gone away to the racetrack. At 3 p.m., Ken comes back from the racetrack shaken, and he wants to forget all about it. He decides it's time to play a game of Monopoly. And so he gets out JR's large print Monopoly board. By 5 p.m., JR and Ken have tuna fish sandwiches for dinner. It was their last full night in New Orleans. July 26th was a rather fateful day. At 5:40 a.m., JR is on the stationary bike and treadmill at the hotel exercise room. He had 20 minutes of exercise before he and Ken would check out and leave the hotel. Ken wanted them to watch A League of Their Own. JR, however, was less enthusiastic, but only did it to humor Ken. Meanwhile, Olivia is at the New Orleans International Airport with her dad and family. Though she is saddened to be departed from JR, she is aware, in some ways, they could no longer be together. At 6:40 a.m., JR and Ken arrived for a morning matinee of A League of Their Own. JR is not happy to be there until Ken comes back to the theater with muffins and orange juice. Meanwhile, back at Swainfield, Jim gets a call from one of his friends at the New Orleans airport. Jim, I did some fancy talking, and now Olivia and her family are gone. Hell yeah, Jim said. I want JR with Karen Cryer, not her. He then gets into his car, his 1989 Lincoln, and puts on 60s and 70s music, speeding off to the office in Midland before going to the helipad on the roof with Claude. But by 7:25 a.m., Claude picks up Jim at the office instead, saying he had personally chartered a jet for their business travels. At 7:30 a.m., the jet taxis down the runway from Midland International Airport and takes off for its target, Belen, New Mexico, which would be an hour and 55 minutes away. By 9 a.m., JR and Ken hop in the car from New Orleans, getting juice and muffins before departing the theater. JR, you look half asleep. Show me a Tom Hanks movie that I actually like. I realize you're one of his biggest fans, Ken. But Daddy swears his family favors Kevin Costner, JR said. Whatever, Ken said, starting the car and driving off. Meanwhile, in his private jet, Jim and Claude enjoy coffee and cigarettes. Jim decides to put on some Don Williams music that reminded him of a time in the mid-1970s when his relationship and marriage with Elizabeth was falling apart. By 10:45 a.m., Jim and Claude come to do a business view of the management of the rig in Belen, New Mexico. Jim found some irregularities, but Claude was able to smooth things over. By 12:30 p.m.,